Hello, everybody, and welcome into another series preview here at the Hockey Writers. And I am your host, Matthew Zator, and we are up to doing the Tampa Bay Lightning and Florida Panthers Battle of Florida. For the first time, we're talking about, it's been 3 years, 2022. They met in the second round of the playoffs. It's been a bit. They've been against other teams, and of course, the Florida Panthers won the Cup last year, the defending champs. So I got Joey Ganzi here, who's always on these previews, and Jack Pallotta, who did our season preview with Harrison. So, Jack, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm really excited for playoffs. Can't believe the season flew by so fast. It felt like yesterday we were doing the season preview for the Lightning, and now we're here today talking about the first round. So.
The season has just flown by. I mean, so much stuff has happened and lots of big things. But yeah, the playoffs are just around the corner. We're only a few days away from game one. And Joey, how's it going? I mean, the Panthers didn't dominate the league, but they made the playoffs. They are the second. They don't have home ice in the first round. But how's it going?
It's going fantastic. I mean, the way I see it is if you get in there, you got a chance to make something crazy happen. The Preds nearly went all the way all those years ago as the final seed. I mean, you know, they weren't even the President's Trophy winner last season and won the whole Cup. So just get it done, I guess. But I'm very excited. I'm counting down the seconds to this weekend.
Yeah, it should be fun. So let's jump right in and talk about this series. And as we always do, we go through a bit of the journey to the playoffs. And I'll start with you, Jack, with the Lightning. I mean, we already know, we talked about the season preview where, didn't have Steven Stamkos for the first time in forever. And they still made the playoffs and still were second seed in the Atlantic. Didn't win the division they sometimes in the past have won it. Florida's won it. Toronto's won it for the first time ever, which is surprising to me that they were the top seed. But what's been the Lightning's journey to this point? I mean, lots of new faces in the lineup. Of course, still had a few of the stars. But what do you think about the journey to get here?
There was definitely some turmoil this offseason. There was a lot of question marks for this Lightning team heading into the season. We knew they were going to look a lot different with the substitution from Stamkos to Guentzel, also moving off of Mikhail Sergachev, bringing in some younger names like J.J. Moser and Connor Geekie, who have really impressed at parts of the season. But overall, I think I remained optimistic. I remember in the season preview, I said they would finish top 2 in the Atlantic as a bold prediction, and they ended up getting second, which was nice to see. So I think I was a little higher on them going in than the public perception was. But this team can play offense, man. They score goals. They have the most goals scored in the NHL this year. And also their defense has improved massively compared to the past couple years where they've been bounced in the first round against teams like Florida and Toronto. So overall, a very good season and a good showing for a quick retool on the fly here, moving out some big core pieces.
Yeah. I mean, the big, some of the young guys really came, like you mentioned, and it is exciting to see that, especially with a team that always makes the playoffs and always has higher seeds. They don't get draft picks, and the Lightning have not had draft picks. They keep trading them away, and they're still fine. I mean, and they're still able to get some young guys in the lineup. We'll talk about some of the other players to watch. There's, of course, Nikita Kucherov is one of the stars again, but definitely still a good season for the Lightning. Joey, what about the Panthers? I mean, of course, we mentioned, the Stanley Cup champs. Their season was pretty good. I mean, a lot of their guys still were great. So one of the top players had some injury issues towards the end of the season, most notably Matthew Tkachuk being out after the Four Nations. And they've had to deal with that. But what has been the journey like for the Panthers up to this point?
It's more or less just finding depth through everything. Their depth has had to step up a lot over the last couple of months. Barkov's also missed some time in some games. They've had to call up Jesse Puljujarvi and Jacob Megna with the absence of Ekblad due to PEDs. Supposedly, I'm not going to say that that's what it is. But he was suspended for 20 games. So the second half of this season has just been them trying to make do with what they have. And they got to the playoffs, so the hard part's done. Now it's just a matter of getting it all put together and going back for the repeat, because you can tell from the faces of a lot of these guys, they're hungry to do it again.
For sure. I mean, lots of veteran guys, and of course they won the Cup, went to the final the previous year. So lots of playoff experience, these guys. So you know what to expect. and they just had to make it in again, and we'll see what happens after that. All right, well, speaking of players that we mentioned a few of the names already, but Jack, who are the players to watch in this series? I mean, of course, you can talk about the big guys, but who else or who do you want to talk about that everyone should be watching in this series?
So the first guy I want to talk about is one of those bigger names, but it's going to be Jake Gensel because this is going to be his first playoff series as a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm not more so worried about the guys who have been here for a long time, looking at Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Victor Hedman, Andre Vasilevsky. We know what those guys bring to the table. We've been seeing them do it for a decade. I'm more focused on Jake Gensel. I have my eyes on him because we know he's a playoff warrior. He's won a cup with Pittsburgh. He was extremely impactful with the Carolina Hurricanes in that short run last season, and I think he's going to play another big role in this series especially. And more of my under-the-radar pick is going to be Gage Gonzalez, who was bounced up and down from the NHL and AHL this season. He's a 24-year-old. He was a second-round pick back in 2020, and he has really thrived with the Lightning in the second half of this season. Upon starting the season with the team, and then he was kind of up and down between Syracuse and the Pro League with the NHL, and then he finally ended up cracking the lineup full-time down the stretch and has looked a lot better and has been producing offensively.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned some of of course, the big names the Lightning always have, but one big storyline over the last bunch of years is their depth guys. It just come out of nowhere, and it's like, well, who was this guy? And all of a sudden, they're big guys in the playoffs. And, Goncalves could be one of those guys. I mean, guys like Anthony Cirelli just come out of nowhere and be big names in the playoffs. And, Eric Cernak. I mean, we could go on and on about some of their third lines have just always dominated. And it's not the big names that do it. So I may have some of that going in. And, of course, Jake Gensel, we all know how good he is in the playoffs. He's done it for the Pittsburgh Penguins many times. So definitely a guy to watch, see if he can do that for the Lightning as well. All right, Joey, over to the Panthers. I mean, again, lots of guys that were very good in the playoffs last season and brought them to the Cup. There are some, like I said, some injuries, but what are the players, some of the players that everyone should be watching in this one?
I mean, obviously, I can go on and on about Alexander Barkov and Gustav Forsling, and they're going to make a huge impact in the playoffs, no doubt about that. But there's two players in particular we want to point out. I'm going to talk about their latest addition in Brad Marchand. We talked earlier about how big playoff experience is these playoffs, and probably out of everyone on this roster, no one has it more than Brad Marchand. 157 playoff games, 56 goals, 82 assists, multiple Cup Finals appearances, and one Stanley Cup with Boston. He's going to be a huge piece to bring it all together, especially in the playoffs, especially if he's on the same line as Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. That's going to be rough on anyone who has to go against that line. But seeing someone with that experience wanting to come together and try to win something is going to be huge, especially giving everyone that jump. And then I'm also going to talk about Anton Lundell. Lundell, like I said, during the regular season, he was a big depth piece. A lot of people down here refer to him as Baby Barkov because he's so good as a two-way center. In last year's playoffs, he had 17 points through all four series, and he had 52.3% face-off win percentage. I think he's going to be a massive impact on that third and fourth line for Florida, and it might be a lot for the depth of Tampa to handle.
Yeah, Marchand's a big name coming over. I mean, I was a little surprising that Boston actually traded him. And he's going to be mad. We already know how good he is in the playoffs, and he definitely adds to already the big experience they already got. I think he's going to be a big impact for sure. I want to mention one guy, Matthew Zator. He's been really good the whole season. So, I mean, he could be an under-the-radar name to really maybe do something in this series too. All right, Jack, moving to some keys to victory for the Lightning. I mean, we all know they've been pretty good against the Panthers in the past in the playoffs. Of course, swept them a couple years ago. What are the keys to victory for the Lightning to come out of this and into the second round?
Of course, there's a couple key victories for the Lightning here. The first for me is not letting the Panthers' power kill prevail. The Panthers have an amazing penalty kill, and they have capitalized on the Lightning multiple times in the season series so far, coming down and shocking their power play with some shorthanded goals. The Panthers and Lightning both are top 3 in shorthanded goals scored this season. So I'm just really excited to see how the Lightning are sort of going to play sort of this power play defense and shut down the Panthers penalty kill that can play so offensive and can be even such a dangerous threat, even though they were a man down. And another one I'd say is Andre Vasilevsky making the easy saves. I know it's very routine and very simple, but this Florida team loves to shoot the puck from all over the ice. They're not just looking for that high quality look. They're throwing the puck on net from the perimeter, from the point. They're cycling the puck all over the zone. And Vasilevsky has been the best goalie in high danger areas this year, making those saves in tight. But I'm looking for, is he going to be able to stop the easy shots and not allow the Panthers to spook him with those ones from far out?
Sure. I mean, and Vasilevsky had 3 of the starts in the season series. Jonas Johansson had the other start and had a shutout in it. I don't know if they're going to turn to him in this one. Who knows? 36 save shutout in that one. The season series was tied at 2-2. So, I mean, is pretty even. And the goaltending seemed really good for both sides. Bobrovsky is the only key guy that's still around. Spencer Knight and Vitek Vanacek were the other 2 guys that had starts. But Bobrovsky, again, .930 save percentage in the 2 games he played. So, yeah, the goaltending could be a thing in this series, and both were really good in the season series. So we'll see how that plays out. All right, Joey, what about you for the Panthers to get out of this series and keep going on to defend that Stanley Cup? What are the keys to victory for them?
As Jack spoke about, Florida does have a strong penalty kill. And I think that's going to be a huge, huge, huge part in getting deeper into the playoffs. Special teams is everything, especially in the postseason. And I think the toughest part is, for the first time in 2 years, they have to go on the road to start the series. Mm-hmm. Currently, they have the best road penalty kill in the league and the 3rd best road power play in the league. If they can keep that going through the first 2 games, because obviously they're going to be missing Ekblad for those first 2 crucial games, and try to split the series, I think it should be an easy road for them to get it done at home or wrap it up in 5 or 6. But it only comes down to, can we split the first 2 games on the road? And I think that's what's going to determine the whole series for Florida. You've seen the firepower with Barkov. Kachuk's going to be back in the lineup, supposedly, knock on wood. Marchand's going to make a huge impact. Their depth, Samoskevich, Lundell, Forsling's going to be massively important on the defense. And I think it's going to be all come together, especially in those first 2 games.
Yeah, that's a key point, that they're not going to have that home ice right at the beginning. And, they're not used to it in the last couple of years. We'll see if that makes a big difference in it or not. All right, let's Jack, you mentioned that, Vasilevsky needs to make the key saves at, the easy saves, I guess. What is a weakness for the Lightning that you're worried about in this series that could potentially be a sticking point that makes it that they're eliminated?
There is a big weakness that the Lightning have that the Panthers can absolutely eat them alive with, and that is the Lightning's lack of foot speed on the back end against the Panthers' forecheck. This has been a massive problem, especially last season in the playoffs when these 2 teams met, and this is why Florida cruised by them in 5 games so easily. The Lightning ranked 22nd in defensive core speed burst per 60 above 20 minutes. And the issue with that is that the Panthers are arguably the best team on the forecheck in the NHL. They're going to come in waves at the Lightning. All 4 lines are going to come. This team loves to dump the puck, and they will make your life hell as a defenseman. And I'm just worried about the Lightning's foot speed, because are they going to be quick enough to go back and retrieve those pucks and transition from defense to offense good enough and fast enough, or are the Panthers just going to keep them hemmed in the zone for the entire series? I think that is the biggest weakness that the Lightning have.
Yeah, speed is big, and of course the Panthers seem to be able to play different styles too, especially last year in the playoffs. They can grind it out, they can play the back and forth, and like you said, the forecheck's a big thing, a big part of their game. So definitely something to watch for. Joey, what about the Panthers? A weakness that you're worried about going into this series?
I mentioned it earlier. I think it's going to be being without their star defenseman and potentially Matthew Tkachuk for at least a couple games. That's been their biggest piece for years. He was a huge piece. Aaron Ekblad was a huge piece in getting them to the Cup final the last couple of years, and it's going to come down to overcoming that for the first 2 games, especially on the road. And Matthew Tkachuk, I'm hearing rumors he's supposed to be back for game 1, but how healthy is he going to be?
Mm-hmm.
It's very groin injuries are such a weird enigma that I don't know how 100% he's going to be. And it comes down to how healthy is everybody, how quickly can they shake off the rust and take down a very potent Tampa Bay Lightning offense.
Yeah, injuries are going to be something. I think that's a storyline for a lot of teams going into the playoffs. I think a lot of star players banged up going in across the league, right? So Panthers definitely hope that they're back and that they are at least maybe like 85% to be good. But I'd say they'd take an 85% Matthew Tkachuk, I would think, right? So we'll see how much that goes into it. All right, let's get to our quick fire round, and we're going to start with X factors. And this could be a player, it could be a situation as well. So I'll start with you, Jack. What's an X factor in this series for the Lightning?
I think the X factor has to be the guy that was just called up this past week, that being Connor Geekie, who was acquired in a trade over the summer with the Arizona Coyotes, now the Utah Hockey Club. And with Oliver Bjorkstrand's injury, having him out possibly till the end of this series, and Geekie is going to be huge. He scored in his first 2 games back up with the NHL team. So he's the guy I'm looking out for at 6'4". Hopefully can make a big impact on the third line.
Yeah, it's a guy that definitely he's had flashes this season too before he was sent down, and definitely big body and that can be good in the playoffs. So yeah, definitely could be an X factor. Joey, what about you for an X factor for the Panthers?
One guy that I always feel like makes a splash every time he's in the playoffs is Sam Bennett. Every time he's in the playoffs, that's just his atmosphere. He loves to get dirty. He loves to grind, especially in front of the net and behind the net. And anytime he's in the playoffs, he's always putting up double-digit points. In last playoffs, he scored 7 goals and 7 assists through 19 games. He did miss a couple of games because of injury, but he was still a massive impact. The playoffs before that, 5 goals and 10 assists. He thrives in this environment. I think he's going to be a lot to handle for Tampa's defense.
And he's an unrestricted free agent after this season. So I know we'll probably talk about him a lot going into the offseason if he's not re-signed. But talk about Sam Reinhart last season, and they re-signed him. So it may not be a big point. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, definitely be an X factor in the playoffs for sure. All right, series MVP. Now, this can be from the team that you cover, or it could be from, this could tip your hand to the predictions. But Jack, who could be a series MVP in this?
My series MVP is probably going to be the hottest player in the NHL right now, that being Nikita Kucherov. He's been on an absolute tear lately to close out the season. He's claimed his second Art Ross trophy in a row, passing Nathan McKinnon again for the most points in the NHL. I think he's going to have a very good series, and I think he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder after last season.
We all know how good he is in the playoffs. He's got so many points. So, yeah, big time producer, and definitely steps up when the game's really important. Joey, what about you for a series MVP?
I'm going to say it's the former Tampa Bay Lightning player, Carter Verhaeghe. As I said with Bennett, Carter Verhaeghe thrives in a playoff atmosphere. I believe he leads the team all time in game-winning playoff goals. Last playoffs, he had 11 goals, 10 assists for 21 points, including a big overtime winner in Game 2 against the Tampa Bay Lightning last season to win that game. This season, the playoffs before, he had seven goals, one completely upsetting the Bruins in a Game 7 round 1. So this is where he thrives, and I don't think it would be any sweeter than for him to do it against his former team one more time.
Yeah, talk about playoff performers. Verhaeghe's definitely a big one, and he always burns the Lightning. And he was way back when part of the Lightning, right? So wasn't a big impact player then, but definitely has turned into one. All right, a bold prediction for this series, and I'll stay with you, Joey, for this. A bold prediction.
I think you're going to see a goal from their fourth line. I think you're going to see a greasy goal that might completely turn the whole series upside down. You might see someone from Gadjevich or AJ Greer, that a guy you just don't expect to score, get a greasy goal and completely flip the series over on its head.
Yeah, I like that. These guys, they're always the unknown guys that are the heroes sometimes, especially in overtime. Seems like guys are like, who?
Ryan Lomberg, especially years and years ago. scored a big overtime game winner. No one expected him to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Jack, what about you for a bold prediction?
This is a little more generic and ties to both teams, but I'm going to say that this Lightning Panthers series is going to have the most penalty minutes out of any first round series in the NHL playoffs.
I don't know how bold that is, right? He said.
I mean, in his defense, he's got competition. The Battle of Ottawa might put up some numbers too.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, that one definitely could end up being a bit of a penalty fest too. So they might have a battle on their hands, but we'll see. That definitely going to be some penalties in this one.
Oh, for sure.
All right, finish it. Let's finish it with our series predictions and final predictions. So, Joey, who's going to win this series and in how many games?
I think it's going to be the Panthers in 7. Ultimately, I think Florida still has the strength to get the split on the road. They've shown before, like I said before, they have the best road penalty kill. They have one of the best road power plays. And they've been able to hang with Tampa, both on the road and at home. They've shown even last playoffs they can hang with them on the road. And they've been one of the best road playoff teams in a long time. I don't see why they can't do it again. I think it goes the extra distance because they are going to be missing some of those forwards. And this is a much different Tampa team than Tampa had the last couple of seasons. You know, I almost want to say that Getzel is an upgrade over Stamkos because of how fantastic he's been. Brandon Hagel provides a lot. Anthony Cirelli does a lot. Braden Point is a Panther killer, and I expect him to get at least 3 goals in this series. I think this goes to 7, but I think ultimately Florida is going to win this battle one more time.
All right, Jack, what about you for who's winning this one?
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take the Lightning in 6, and there's a big reason for this, and that's just because of the health of Florida and also because of all the new players that they got at the trade deadline. This team is not fully meshed, in my opinion. I think they have a very good team and very scary players. Barkov, Reinhart, Forsling. Nobody wants to go against those guys. They're unbelievable. But I just am struggling to see a vision where the Panthers are going to piece it together with new guys like Marchand and Seth Jones on the back end. And I think the Lightning have a much better team this year, and I like what they upgraded, and I think they're much better at 5-on-5, and I think they're going to give the defending champs a run for their money. But I'm so excited for this series, and both these teams are phenomenal and have made the state of Florida so big for hockey.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, and I think this is going 7. I agree with you, Joey. And I'm on the Lightning side. I think they're just seem to be a bit more together right now, especially with the injuries the Panthers have. I think that might be a problem, but it is going 7, and that could go either way. But I'll go the Lightning to come out of it, and it's going to be an overtime. I'll add that in. For
Wow.
Game 7 overtime. I love Game 7 overtime.
Wait, how many?
How many overtimes?
Yeah.
I'll go double overtime. I'm not going to go
Okay.
crazy on that one. I'll go double overtime Game 7. And yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. So make sure checking out everything at thehockeyrush.com. I know you guys will have pieces out. Joey and Jack will have be covering the series throughout. So make sure checking out everything at thehockeyrush.com, the Substack, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well as we go through the playoffs here into the first round with this. We got the Battle of Florida. We got the Battle of Ontario. It is going to be fun. I think this first round is going to be really fun to watch. So check it out when it gets started. But until our next series preview, we will see you next time.